Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going inside a crisis as it happens, a deep dive into the harrowing, moment-by-moment experience of a man named poor Tony Krause during a catastrophic withdrawal.
And we're treating this as a live event. We're tracking his desperation, his choices, right up to the final climax on the Gray Line train out of Watertown.
So when we first find him, his situation is already dire. The isolation is, well, it's absolute. He's running.
He's in full flight. Just weeks before this, he was caught up in that terrifying event with the woman's bag, the one that turned out to have a heart inside.
Right. And that incident, plus some other lingering threats, it just completely erased him. He's had to ditch everything that made him recognizable.
Things that were part of his identity, like his red leather coat, anything comely. Now he's hiding in these, vile synthetic clothes and a tweed cap.
Just trying to disappear.
It's more than hiding, though. This is a targeted erasure.
Yeah.
He has a man named Emil who has him marked for demapping.
And demapping, for anyone listening, you have to understand what that means. It's not just being ignored.
No, it's a full sociogeographic removal. He's being hunted. He can't be seen anywhere near the square, nothing east of Tremont Street. So his choices aren't about comfort or strategy. They're purely about survival through invisibility.
And that invisibility means a total collapse of his support system, which, in a crisis like this, is the first thing to go. Trust, connection.
Gone. Who can he go to for his wares?
Nobody.
Nobody. Not ST Choose, not Lola's sister. The paranoia is too high.
But it's not just paranoia, right? I mean, his network has genuinely crumbled.
It has. His two most reliable people, his coppers, they're gone. Stokely Darkstar died in a hospice in Fenway. And Bridget Tenderhole
Shipped off to Brockton.
So the lines are cut. When that happens, the body takes over. This is where we shift from a social crisis to a physical one, to what he calls the old cold bird.
True withdrawal. Something he hadn't gone through since he was a teenager.
And the physical state it puts him in is just, it's shocking. He decides to hide out behind the IBPWD 102 hall in Fort Point.
The Pipe Fitters and Welders Union, yeah. He's hiding in a dumpster complex, and at this point, he weighs, 50 kilograms?
About 110 pounds. His skin is the color of summer squash. He's caught in this loop of shivering and sweating. He has a sty that's literally scraping his eyeball with every blink.
And the place itself. Yeah. It's a perfect reflection of his internal state.
It is. I mean, the smell alone is described as an uncomely dry rot smell that even he can detect. And the specific dumpster he picks is this new apple green one.
Almost mocking him.
Right. But the waste disposal crew, the EWD guys, they've made it clear no one goes near it. So he's safe from being found, but he's completely exposed.
Leaking cover and ants.
Which he has a deep childhood hatred for, so it's not a refuge. It's his own private hell.
It sounds less like a hideout and more an open grave. So what pushes him out? Because the pain and the cold and ants, that's not enough to make him risk being seen.
You've hit it exactly. It wasn't the pain, it was the shame, the loss of control. The withdrawal gets to a point where, and this is a direct quote, fluids of varying consistency began to pour wealth advance notice.
Incompetence.
Yes. And for poor Tony, who's described as a fastidious gender dysphoric, this is the ultimate horror. He has these careful standards of cleanliness, of presentation.
Even in the middle of all this.
Especially then. So the loss of control over his own body, that's a trauma that outweighs the threat of violence from Emil.
That, plus he needs to get his monthly social assistance check.
Right. That's the practical trigger. The shame and the money force him to relocate.
And his next hideout is somehow even more desperate. The men's room of the Armenian Foundation Library in Watertown.
It's this attempt to create order in the chaos. He tries to build a little haven in a toilet stall.
Decorating it?
Yeah, with shiny pictures from magazines, little knickknacks. He lays toilet paper around the seat. It's this pathetic and really tender attempt to have some control over his world.
And his strategy for coping changes. He starts drinking Codenex Plus, codeine cough syrup.
A truly desperate move. But the thing is, the codeine doesn't stop the withdrawal. It just slows it down.
It extended the corridor of his suffering.
Precisely. The syrup has codeine and alcohol. He's drinking maybe 16 of these little 80-proof bottles a day. It keeps him alive, but it keeps him stuck in agony. His whole life is just sitting on that toilet.
Only leaving every 2 days to run to the pharmacy.
In a disguise made of, cast-off sunglasses and a hood he made out of brown paper towels taped to his head.
It's in that stall that things go from physical to something else. This is where reality itself starts to break down.
This is the psychological terror. His perception of time just completely collapses.
And it's terrifying how it happens. Time isn't just a concept anymore. It becomes an active persecutor.
At first it has sharp edges. It's carried by a gleaming red martial column of ants.
Militaristic ants.
Yeah, and each ant, each second, is demanding a tiny piece of his flesh. So the very passage of time becomes this painful, extractive process.
But it doesn't stay abstract. It gets worse. Time becomes a physical thing, right there in the stall with him.
It morphs into this huge, musty-feathered, orange-eyed, wingless fowl squatting on top of the stall door.
And it's just watching him.
Just watching, deeply, totally uncaring. It's the weight of time just pressing down on him. And then it gets inside him.
It becomes a sensory experience.
Yeah.
An assault. It feels cold the way only damp cold is cold.
And it has a smell.
Oddly of deodorant.
This synesthesia, this mixing of senses, is a hallmark of extreme psychological distress. The phrase chilled to the bone becomes terrifyingly literal for him. He feels shard-studded columns of cold filling his bones with ground glass. His joints crunch.
And this all leads to this final, horrifying realization that connects back to the incontinence, to the shame.
It's an incredible psychological leap. He's barely ingesting anything but cough syrup, but his body is producing this endless liquid waste. And he connects the flow of waste
To the flow of time.
Yes. He realizes poor Tony had become an hourglass. Time moved through him now. He is just a vessel for its painful passage. At this point, he's down to about 45 kilos.
And through all of this, there's a word echoing in his head. Zukum.
A word he doesn't know, have never heard, but it's the soundtrack to his collapse.
The crisis hits its final stage when the money runs out. He can't buy any more Codenex Plus.
And now he gets hit with a double withdrawal. It's not just the original heroin withdrawal anymore. Now it's acute withdrawal from all the alcohol and codeine in the syrup.
Which is a whole different beast.
It's neurologically much more dangerous, and it brings on what the source calls the big-budget visuals, the DTs.
And the trigger is immediate. A single hallucination.
A glossy, minutely hirsute army ant crawling up his arm, and when he tries to brush it away, it won't go. It's a total violation of his physical self. That's the breaking point.
And it forces his hand. The final move. A mad, scampering relocation to Inman Square.
To the Antitoy brothers. He's betting his life on a favor he thinks they owe him from that affair of the heart.
These aren't friends, though. They're described as sinister and duplicitous.
It's a Hail Mary. It's the last possible connection he has to his old life.
But the journey there, on the T platform, it starts with immediate humiliation.
The incontinence hits again. A hot, loose load just falls into his slacks. And right there, he sees himself transform.
He watches people move away from him.
He goes from being, a colorful and comely person to one of those loathsome urban specimens everyone avoids. He can smell himself, Bailey Rubin, yellow sweat. He's wearing weak old eyeliner and that pathetic paper towel hood. He's lost.
And as he's sitting there, the seizure begins. And it's so important to be clear, this isn't from the heroin withdrawal.
No, this is a neurochemical bruising from stopping the massive daily intake of the codeine syrup.
The first visuals are almost beautiful. A shower of tiny sparks, phosphenes from the ceiling.
And a fiery violet aura around the heads of the clean passengers who are backing away from him.
But then a smell breaks through. A very specific, very personal smell.
Old Spice Stick deodorant, classic original scent. It was his late father's brand, a smell he was allergic to.
And then the ants from his hallucination.
Yeah.
They stop crawling on him.
They start crawling into him, into his mouth and nose, disappearing inside.
Then there's this moment of absolute stillness, a pre-tornadic stillness of zero sensation.
Followed by his body just arching back in a waterfall of light. His head feels like it's inflating, creaking, and then the pain hits like the sharp end of a hammer.
And everything collapses inward.
Yeah.
Into a hallucination starring his father.
Papa. Who appears in all these different forms. Kneeling on the ceiling in a torn t-shirt, then in a green surgical gown and rubber gloves. He's this figure of judgment and clinical violence.
The rhythm of the seizure, the drumming of his own heels on the floor of the train.
It has a sound. Zuckung, zuckung, zuck.
The hallucination just escalates into pure body horror. He sees a word. P-H-H.
And he feels himself in stirrups, like he's about to be cracked open, turned inside out. And the core of the terror, his deepest fear, is that his father, this clinical figure,
He could see up his dress what was hidden.
the seizure has become this traumatic, violent exposure performed by the personification of his own guilt.
And that triggers one last final act of aggression. It's all focused on his tongue. He feels a piece of what he thinks is nourishing meat in his throat, and he swallows it.
It's a desperate act of self-consumption, and the father figure immediately tries to stop him, reaching in with these bloody rubber-gloved fingers.
But poor Tony fights back.
He bites down, he severs the fingers, the rubber-wrapped meat. It's this final, violent rejection of that controlling, judging force.
And the result is immediate. He sees his father's head just explode into a star of colored light. But his own heels keep drumming on the floor. Zukum, the crisis is total.
What we've just witnessed it's a reality that has been completely redefined by agony. The weight of his past, the heart, the demapping it all, converged with the neurochemical violence of the DTs. His own life, his own memories, even time itself became his torturers.
So as you think about poor Tony's final moments on that train, remember that word, Zukung, drumming along with his heels, a word he never knew, but a word that became the rhythm of his violent collapse. Maybe think about this. What does it mean when the defining sound of your ultimate crisis is a word you can't even name? Something for you to mull over as you step back into your own world.